Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's celebrating. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day and stuffing themselves with turkey. I just got done watching the first part of the documentary, and I have a few statements to make before I delve into it and explain what I think is going on and what's wrong with it. So let's go. My first issue with this documentary is they're trying to claim that William was against Harry or Harry was against William, when the truth is I think all of the issues were due to the press. And the BBC, this particular documentary, does appear to be pro-Harry from what I saw. My second issue is they allowed Omid Scobie to give misinformation during this documentary that contradicts things that he said in his own programs, but he's embroiled in the middle of a court case where it's been proven that he perjured himself, so I don't know why they didn't remove him. I also agree with Mr. Eden that it was inappropriate to have Omid analyze one of Mr. Eden's stories. Why they didn't just contact Mr. Eden in the first place, I don't know, but I'm glad he's going to be able to have his say, and I'll be looking out for that. Third issue, I've seen this from several sources, but I'm going to put up Silver Tongues because I love his stuff, that the two-part documentary comes from Omid going to a function with journalists and running around the room claiming that William was briefing the press about Harry's mental health. Do I believe Omid Scobie did that? Yes. Do I believe William was briefing the press? No. I completely agree with the tweets above. Obviously, since Omid was on there and Meghan's attorney was on there, it was absolutely slanted pro-Harry, and a lot of the stuff that Omid said was wrong, and yet it was still put in. And I did not realize this until I saw this tweet, but it is true. Omid no longer contributes to any U.S. programs since he was exposed as a liar by William. Now, there is a second episode to this documentary, but it won't be available for another week. And the reason is it had to be edited. After all, Meghan just came out as a perjurer in court. But it looks from the previews like the attorney is still on there saying Meghan's not a work bully. I do want to say also, I have a major issue with Harry and Meghan's attorney showing up on this show along with Omid Scobie. That right there tells you that this is slanted towards Harry in a massive way. It also tells you that Harry and Meghan knew what was in this documentary and gave full permission for this attorney to speak. Definitely slanted towards Harry. Charles, William, and the Queen's households got together and put out the statement that you see above. At the end of the documentary, there was a statement put up that said that the BBC had reached out to the palace for comment, but since they wouldn't allow the palace to preview the documentary and what was in it, what exactly were they expecting in the way of a comment? How can they comment on something that they have yet to see? I also want to make the statement that after what the BBC did with Martin Bashir and Diana, and that all just blew up in their faces, I'm really shocked that they're willing to jump into this pit, because that's truly what I believe they're doing. All right, now let's get into the documentary. One of the first themes that comes up in this documentary is where they continually call William lazy. And they were saying that based on the number of royal engagements he had done at that time. But here's what they left out. First, William was in a 44-week cadet program. After that, he became a search and rescue pilot for 3 years, and then an air ambulance pilot for 2 years. The man was working. If anything, this documentary really showed that it was not William and Harry that were the issue. It was the press. They hired private investigators. They called Harry the new Diana. They did phone hacking. They went after medical records. The next thing that was brought up was the articles that came out that had undertones of racism, so they claimed. And in reading this, I don't think it's anti-Meghan. I think it's anti-Harry. I mean, the article says that she's genetically blessed and they're going to thicken the Windsor watery blue blood and pale skin with some rich and exotic DNA. I don't see the insult. Maybe I'm just ignorant. According to the documentary, saying that somebody has exotic and rich DNA is racist. Okay, anybody wants to say that about me? Go right ahead. The documentary points out that the coverage of the wedding was absolutely phenomenal. Everybody was excited. Everybody loved Meghan. But then something happened before the wedding. Harry put out a statement about Meghan and the press, and he did that while Charles was on a royal tour. That's a big no-no because it overshadowed Charles. Charles was knocked right off the front page. But that's not the press's fault. Again, that's Harry's fault. It wasn't long after the wedding that the chatter started up about there being a problem with Meghan being somewhat of a bully with her staff. The staff kept turning over, they kept quitting, and the royal reporters had an in on this, but didn't say one word about it for 6 months. When Meghan and Harry went off on their royal tour, it was Harry that was giving nasty looks to the reporters and saying nasty things to the reporters. It was Harry that was acting like a jerk. I'll grant it. It wasn't Meghan, it was Harry. But this is typical Harry. He's got paranoia. He's got real mental health issues, and I think that's what was fueling this. We are aware that there's a symbiotic relationship between the royals and the palace, but what this documentary is essentially saying is that it's the royals' behavior and it's their fault, not the fault of the press. I don't believe that. What this documentary is insinuating is that William was leaking information on Harry and vice versa, with, I might add, absolutely no proof to back up these claims. Harry and Meghan's attorney then showed up on the show, and the only way she could have done that was to get permission from Meghan, and I'm also sure that Meghan fully briefed her before the appearance. And that confirms to me that Harry and Meghan knew what was in this documentary, and yet the palace was not even allowed to screen it. The attorney insisted that Harry and Meghan are not work bullies. Personally, I fully agree with the above statement. If Meghan really had not bullied anybody, she wouldn't have her attorney go on TV and defend her. She would just simply file a lawsuit. The palace's independent investigation into the bullying allegations is still ongoing, but it would appear that they have found something. The palace even put out a statement that the ongoing bullying investigation had raised some issues. And let me remind you guys that years ago, Jason Kanoff sent an email to HR over Meghan's behavior towards her staff, not even knowing where this was going to lead or where it was going to go. I've always said, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there have been lots of rumors about her behavior in Australia, and apparently that is now being pulled into the bullying investigation. So we're going to find out what actually went on during that tour. Now, with everything said, you would think that somebody with a 4-year degree would be smart enough to understand that when you are in a legal case and your ex-aide is handing over documentation that has shown you to be a perjurer, the last thing you should do while you're in the middle of this case is try to contact them. But apparently that's exactly what Meghan did. Yes, she was told by her attorney not to try to contact Mr. Kanoff again. I can't believe she was that ridiculous. In response to what the BBC did, William and Catherine are not going to allow them to stream their Christmas special like they usually do. Instead, William and Catherine are going to use ITV. I think that's fabulous. Personally, I hope that that's the end of the BBC. Well, one can dream. William and Catherine have every right to hit back at them after this debacle. When the news article came out about the bullying, you have to know that this time, knowing how Harry and Meghan like to file lawsuits, they made sure to have their receipts. And then some explanation was given. And because this video was so long, I edited it down to just really the important parts. Listen to this.
Often There were a lot of stories over the years suggesting that Meghan was difficult to work with. There were reports of staff leaving, there were reports of staff in tears, and now these allegations have come forward. We know that actually there was substance to them. But these people who felt they were bullied, who left their jobs, are still in an emotionally fragile and fraught state today. People are in tears on a regular basis, as far as I can hear. You know, faced with the prospect of a difficult meeting with the Duchess, people said things like, "I feel sick, I'm shaking, it's ridiculous." 2.5 years ago, this advisor to the Duchess submitted these allegations in writing. They went to his boss, he passed them on to HR, and as far as we can tell, can't know for absolute certain, but as far as we can tell, nothing was done. It would be entirely wrong to characterise this as the War of the Windsors. This is not about Buckingham Palace as an institution fighting back against Harry and Meghan. Meghan's had it all her own way. She's portrayed herself as a victim. She wanted to portray herself as a victim from the start. She was always craving rejection so that she could say to Harry, "Listen, our life is unbearable here. And there's only one answer, and that's to leave the country and go and live in the United States."
People are already complaining about the BBC and this documentary. And with that, I want to say that the BBC came back and said that this was, quote, "how the royal journalism is done and features a range of journalists from broadcast and the newspaper industry," close quote. Had Omid Scobie not been there, had the Sussex team attorney not been there, I might have believed that. But it's pretty obvious that Meghan's lawyer is there because they want to get their side out. I think it's like William said, if it's on here, if it's in a documentary, people are going to absolutely think it's true, when in truth it's not. Time will tell. You should know that the BBC chairman is saying that, I hope in this case we've got it right, and he hopes the royal family respects the output that this program represents. And he said he was assured the palace was approached before the broadcast and offered a right of reply, but said, quote, "if that wasn't the case, I will learn that in the fullness of time." Maybe in 20 years? Is that how long it took for the Martin Bashir incident to come out? Now, remember I told you that the second episode was being edited because of the legal case. And as you can see above, the Sussex squad has already melted down over it. And now they're going to not watch it because it won't put Meghan in a favorable light. The next episode apparently is coming out on the 29th. And once I watch that, I will do another video on it. All right, a couple more things at the end of this video before I say goodbye. First of all, this article was put out, I bet we can guess who's responsible for this one, saying that Kate Middleton never had crowds screaming like rock star Meghan. Guys, I have to tell you, I seriously don't know where they come up with these ridiculous, stupid stories that are so easily proven as untrue. I mean, yeah, okay. Moving on. One of my followers wrote to me and told me that she was listening to a station in New Zealand called News Talk ZB, and they played one of my posts off of YouTube. Bruce Russell, he must be a subscriber of mine, I'm guessing, and he introduced me as announcer Sue Smith. I was trying to get a copy of it, but apparently that's not possible. I'm sad. It's Finn update time. He has not given up on trying to make friends with Toodles. Bless him. Watch this. Come on. So, my friends, instead of this BBC documentary being about the war of Harry and William, I predict that part 2 is going to be morphing into Meghan's bullying allegations and the fact that she's innocent. Yeah. That's what I think is going to happen next. So make sure to leave your comments below. You know how much I love to read them. You know to hit the subscribe button and the bell. You know you can follow me on Twitter. You know you can email me. And for those who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.